I'm Wesley Gaskew, and today I'd like to start off with a show of hands. How many of you people here know what piracy is? And how many of you could honestly admit to having pirated something before? Like music or videos? It's nothing to be embarrassed about. A lot of people have done it. I can say I've even been tempted to do it in the past. But piracy is a crime. Of course, in the kind of world we live in, where we want everything when we want it, which is right now, which is what people like to call instant gratification, it seems like a very normal thing, but piracy has an adverse effect on the world around us. Today I'm going to start off by talking about what piracy is. I'm going to talk about how it affects the world financially and ethically, and then I'm going to talk about how we can prevent piracy. Piracy is not a crime as serious as murder or armed robbery, but it is a crime nonetheless. And it's important that we take action to begin to prevent it, because it's become a very big problem in the recent years. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to talk about what piracy is. According to Merriam-Webster, piracy is the act of illegally copying someone's product or invention without permission. For example, this could be going to the store and buying a DVD of a movie you like, and taking it home and uploading the DVD onto YouTube for millions of people to watch for free. Similarly, it could be just you going onto YouTube and downloading a video to watch that you would normally have to pay for. Both are crimes, and just like any other crime, you're responsible for knowing the laws, and you're responsible for your actions. It's just like getting a traffic ticket. There's no excuse in saying, well, I didn't know I couldn't download that video for free, or I didn't know I ran that stop sign and that was illegal. You're still responsible. There are a few ways to prevent doing something like this, of course. Like the University of West Georgia says that typically if something is free on the internet and you can find it being charged for on other sites, then it's probably pirated on that site. And so you should always check multiple sites to make sure. And now that we know a little bit about piracy, let's get into the ethical and financial stresses of this world. But we'll start off with a story about a couple who wanted to make a movie. Adam Lipsius and his wife submitted a story to the Huffington Post about their ambition to make a tennis movie and how piracy almost ruined it. They had a movie called 16 Love, which was about tennis. It was years in the making at the time, and they were very excited about it. In 2012, they finally decided to release it. They had lots of help from their neighbors that were in the film industry. Many investors invested in the movie, allowing it to be very high budget. And they decided to pitch it to a lot of movie distributors, who all turned it down due to problems that we've had in recent years with piracy. He mentioned the article that very prominent movie distributors like MGM, Miramax, Paramount, and many others have all even stopped distributing movies in the past few years because people are just going to download them online anyway. Despite warnings that he got from the distributors, he decided to release the movie on iTunes, in select theaters, and on TV, independently. It ended up being that in a matter of weeks, before it even ever came out in theaters, it was being pirated online. Hundreds of thousands of copies of the movie had been downloaded online. The movie had topped the charts on iTunes for 8 or 9 consecutive months, but that didn't matter because he lost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of potential dollars in sales due to piracy. This brings me to my next point, which is to talk about whether or not there's really anything ethically wrong with this and whether or not there's anything financially wrong with piracy. Many proponents of piracy may say that art should be shared and that it should be free and open to everybody, and that money doesn't necessarily mean appreciation in art. And something that they're neglecting to see here is that, first off, most importantly, money is needed to live. And secondly, you give an artist money to allow them to continue to make their art. I mean, if a musician doesn't have money to make his albums, he's not going to make any more albums. And that's why a lot of musicians don't make a lot of albums. And also, if you're a true patron of the arts, you would wish for the artist to prosper. You would wish for them to be successful so that they'll continue to enjoy their job and do more of it in the future. Piracy also makes a work, like a movie or an album or a TV show, seem very unsuccessful. A TV show could come out and it could be the most popular TV show today, and if it's only pirated, nobody buys copies of it, nobody's streaming it online on a streaming service like Netflix, their marketing teams are just going to think, oh, I guess nobody liked that, and they're not going to make it anymore. I know this is kind of hard terms, more complicated terms to put it in, so I'm going to try to simplify it a little bit. Let's say that I owned a hot dog stand, and that I made the best hot dogs that anybody could offer in the entire world, which is very unlikely, but hypothetically speaking, I had this hot dog stand, and it was very successful for a few years, and I made some money off of it. But then a man invented a machine that allowed you to clone hot dogs. Okay, so he invents this machine, he comes to me, and he buys a hot dog for $1. He takes it home, he makes 10 million copies of that hot dog, and distributes them out throughout the world for free, and everybody's happy, right? I mean, everybody got hot dogs, I'm known as the best hot dog maker in all of the world now, but what did I actually get from it? $1. Which means I'm going to be out of a job, and the only thing that I was good at and that I really know how to do doesn't matter anymore, because people can just make as many of them as they want. It's for reasons like this that we really need to prevent piracy, which brings me to my next point. How are we going to prevent it? First off, it goes back to what I said earlier in the speech. We need to make sure that we're paying for services when they are supposed to be paid for. We need to make sure that we're checking multiple sites to make sure that we're buying a legitimate copy of something, and we need to practice restraint when we see something that usually costs $30 for free. It seems really nice to take the easy way out, but it's not a very ethical thing to do. And there are a lot of alternatives to piracy out there now. Streaming services like Netflix and Hulu Plus and Spotify and Vudu, all of these different services that allow you to access a lot of content for a very small monthly charge. Spotify even has a discount for college students, which is important because according to a Columbia University survey, 70% of college students 18 to 29 have pirated something before. After teaching you these lessons, all excuses of the past are gone. There are reasonable prices out there, and you should support the artists, and you shouldn't pirate music. I'm going to leave you with a quote from a famous actor named Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey said that if you would give people what they want, when they want it, in the form they want it in, at a reasonable price, then they would buy it rather than steal it. Thank you.